Hey y'all. So today I wanted to talk to you about how I actually got started with the whole travel thing. So I was like everybody else in the US. I did the domestic travel here, there, everywhere, Florida, Virginia, California, Chicago, whatever. I did, you know, local travel and I enjoyed it, but it was always based on how much time I had and how much money I had. So, as most vacations are, right? So I just kept getting this nagging feeling in my spirit that I needed to do a different thing. Then I had the opportunity to take my first cruise. And it was a Caribbean cruise, so we like flew to Puerto Rico, and then we went to like Aruba and Curacao and St. Martin, St. Thomas, I believe. I have a St. Thomas story. No, it was a St. Martin. I have a story. I have a story. I have a story. I think it was St. Martin, but that's for another day. But yeah, so I took this cruise and I had such a wonderful time that I was like, yo, we need to be doing this more often. So then I really started to branch out and do more of the close close international travel. Okay, and that was great. And then I had an opportunity to do another cruise, and these were organized cruises, like with people who I knew, and had another chance to go on a cruise. And this time it was fly to Barcelona, and it was I think Mediterranean cruise. I think that's what it was, a Mediterranean cruise, and we went to places like Malta. Won't be returning. Just didn't love it. I know people who do, but anyway, I digress. And it stops in France, Italy. So I know we went to Sicily for sure, Rome for sure, a few different places. Anyway, thoroughly enjoyed that. So now, the spark has been, ignited. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be doing this cruising thing. I love cruising, and cruising is great. I love cruises. I've cruised this year and plan to cruise more, but I still felt like something was missing. And so I kept having these desires. And in the meantime, I'm, taking these Caribbean cruises and, going all over the place or whatever. Like I said, close international. And then one day I'm working, I was working like 60, 70 hours a week. I was like killing myself. And one day I'm watching one of my favorite shows, which was House Hunters International. I'm watching House Hunters International, and the next thing you know, I'm like calling up, a relative and like, yo, I'm going to Portugal. She was like, what? Like, do you speak Portuguese? I'm like, no, I don't speak Portuguese. She was like, are you just gonna like up and go? I'm like, yeah. So I had this thought, but I didn't make moves. Okay, so this nagging feeling in my spirit, it keeps coming up, it keeps coming up. Then I have this bright idea. I see this one particular show, and all of a sudden I'm going to go to Portugal. So, unfortunately, when we don't move ourselves, sometimes the universe will put something in our path that will move us. And for me, it was unfortunately the passing of three people who were very close to me. So it was like bump, bump, bump. That's how it felt. Like it felt like it was back to back to back, even though it happened over a course of months. But it just felt like a week apart. It was crazy, and that made me say, I am going to do it now. And I got online and I, you know, booked I booked a ticket round trip to Lisbon. I had never been to Lisbon. I didn't really even know how like real true international travel went. This was my first time going solo. Solo, okay. And yeah, I was just gonna do it. So yeah, I had planned to quit my job But at the time, there was like a great need for my type of position um, in social work, and so I was like, okay, I'm like this clinical director, and like, okay, let me just, you know, bounce. And the owner of the company was like, oh, no, 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 can we like negotiate a bit? And that was the first thing. The first thing said, quit your job. But the draw of money said, no, go ahead and negotiate with the owner, and then you'll have something when you come back, something to fall back on. Sometimes having something to fall back on is the worst. Okay, so anyway, I negotiate, and I'm going to take this 2 month like sabbatical and go and travel. So that's what I did, and flew to Portugal, and I had decided that I was going to spend 1 month in Portugal and 1 month traveling other places in Europe. And didn't really know much. Was going to take the Euro. Like, I had like some basic plans. I didn't think it through. I didn't know the nuances of what to do, how to do it, especially as a solo traveler. Okay, and so I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants, and that was just how it was gonna go down. It was just gonna be that. Like, okay, I hopped on a plane, and I had a connection in Spain. I want to say it was Madrid, and it was not just me, but there was another woman who, ironically, sitting next to me was she was going someplace different, but we both were getting off in Madrid and taking separate flights. But this was her first time doing it solo, and that led us to have conversation. And when we got off the flight, I noticed that the boarding pass didn't have a gate. It didn't have a gate. So I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? So I didn't know that you were supposed to wait in this certain area until like maybe an hour or so before your flight, and then the board would light up and tell you what section of the airport to go to, and then it would tell you what gate to go to. But I'm just sitting there like walking around. Like I said, I believe it was Madrid airport, walking around looking extra crazy. Okay, went through. Yeah, I think we also had to go through customs, because not customs, immigration, because that was the first stop in Europe. And yeah, so anyway, it's a kind of a little bit of a long story. So I'm gonna stop here at the Madrid airport and pick it back up with the next piece.